Thank you. Hello, good morning, and welcome everybody. It's great to be in Madrid. It's amazing to see how many close ties we have between Boston and Madrid. And hopefully I can talk a little bit more about MassChallenge, innovation, and economic development in the next half hour, and talk a little bit about the approaches that have worked in Boston, and hopefully we can have a few key takeaways, and this will result in much more collaboration, not just between Madrid and Boston, but the whole of Spain and Boston, and encourage innovation and entrepreneurship all across the world, like we do at MassChallenge. So my name is Akhil. I'm the founder and president of MassChallenge. I will talk a little bit more about what MassChallenge is, but the key thing in this slide is my contact information is akhil@masschallenge.org. This is my email address. I'll be here for the rest of the day, so if any of you want to talk to me or contact me, email or come see me, I would welcome an opportunity to talk to any one of you, and hopefully get to know a lot more of you as the day goes by. So what is MassChallenge? Let me explain MassChallenge a little bit, and then I'll go into the motivations of starting MassChallenge. So we are the largest startup competition and accelerator program in the world. And we are the first to support high-impact early-stage entrepreneurs with no strings attached. And that's the key, no strings attached, right? So people are like, what is the catch? There is no catch. What we want to do is identify the very best entrepreneurs from across the world, bring them to Boston, and then surround them with all the resources that they need to help build their company and accelerate their growth. And what does it cost the entrepreneurs? Nothing, zero. They don't have to pay a fees. We do not take an equity stake in the companies itself, and you do not have to stay in Boston or Massachusetts for that reason. And the program is open to any idea from across anywhere in the world, right? So there literally is no catch. Our only mission, we are a nonprofit organization, and our only mission is to help entrepreneurs win. Help the next generation of the innovative thinkers and entrepreneurs, and help them create great companies. That's what MassChallenge's mission is. So at the end of the day, there are no strings attached. It does not cost the entrepreneurs anything. So every year, we choose about 128 companies in our accelerator program across all sectors, right? Our top 5 major sectors are technology, healthcare, life sciences. So between technology and healthcare, life sciences, that's about 60% of our entrepreneurs. And the rest 40% are consumer products, retail, clean energy, as well as social impact. So social impact can be both nonprofit and as well as for-profit, but social impact is their main criteria. So how the program works is, this year we had applications from 1,700 companies from about 50 countries. So it is a global program. Anybody from anywhere else in the world can apply, right? Our only criteria is that you should be an early stage company. How we define an early stage company is that you should have less than $1 million in revenue, or you should have less than $500,000 in equity investments, right? As long as you're below that, you qualify as an early stage entrepreneur. And what we are looking for are really ambitious entrepreneurs who want to change the world, who want to change the industry that they're in, right? How are you going to impact the world, right? Things that are replicable, scalable, high growth, and can potentially change the industry that they're working in, right? Also, at the end of the program, we give out $1 million. So not only do we not take anything from the entrepreneurs, we have $1 million in cash prizes, and this includes prize levels at 100,000 and 50,000. So between 10 to 20 companies win these prizes. So last year, there were 4 companies at $100,000 level and 12 companies at $50,000 levels. And if you win these prizes, again, these are given as grants, and we do not take an equity stake in your company. So these are cash prizes that are given out to the very best companies from all across the world, right? But more interestingly, the cash prizes or the $1 million is interesting, but where the value of the program lies is we have 600 plus mentors involved with the program on a volunteer basis. And these are some of the very best early stage early stage mentors. By early stage mentors, what I mean is mentors to early stage companies that you can find in the world. The very best VCs, the very best angels, the very best corporations, startup executives who have built billion-dollar businesses before. And what they're doing is they're helping out these 128 companies that have been accepted into the program purely on a volunteer basis. So you don't have to pay them. You don't have to do anything. They're just involved with MassChallenge, right? So that, in a nutshell, is MassChallenge. And let me talk a little bit more about why we started MassChallenge, right? So we started MassChallenge when, right after the financial crisis. My other co-founder, John, and I were working at Bain & Company, which is a great consulting firm around the world, right? And we saw one of the biggest economic crises that the world has ever seen, right? And there was so much pessimism in the world. They were thinking about, oh, I don't know what's going to happen to the world. This is the biggest crisis that the world has ever seen since the economic depression. And there was just so much pessimism around in the market. And both John and I had startup backgrounds, so both of us had built successful startups before in our careers. And when we looked around, we are like, this is crazy. Why is the world in this problem? Why the world is in this situation? And the more we looked around it, the more we saw that the economy, not just the US economy, but the world economy, had become so concentrated on financial engineering. So people taking existing assets or existing pies, cutting the pie in different pieces, and just trading pieces of that pie. But who was creating the pie themselves, right, in the whole economy? And if you look at any economy, the people who create value or the people who create these pies are the entrepreneurs themselves, right? They are the biggest value creators in society. They create value through new products and services. They create value through job creation, and they create value through wealth creation. If you look at any Fortune 500 company in the US, it was started at some point by an entrepreneur, one or two entrepreneurs thinking about a crazy idea, right? And you have seen just in the last 5 years how much value creation has happened because of new entrepreneurs coming in and thinking about new ways of doing things around the world, right? So the way we thought about MassChallenge was, how can we put entrepreneurs back into the center of the equation again? How do we focus the economy back to the entrepreneurs? As well as how can we get entrepreneurs all the help that they need to take what they think is a high potential idea to a high potential business, right? And there's a big gap between a great idea and even a great product to a great business, right? And that's what we want to bridge, is how do we take these great ideas and these great products that you have and people are thinking about all the time and convert them into the next generation of high growth businesses that can actually help the economy itself and as a way for economic development. So the way we think about innovation is the green is what we call MassChallenge, which is a startup catalyst. But there are all these different components of the ecosystem, and everybody is familiar with them. But the thing is, for any healthy ecosystem to exist, what you have is you have to have a key functioning government, right, with great policies that promote entrepreneurship and innovation. You have to have great entrepreneurs and people who want to start new businesses, not just join the next big corporations, right? That we should be encouraging people to become entrepreneurs, right? Then you have the people who can help out all of these, and by people, I mean the mentors themselves, people who have done it before, people who have gone through the journey before and creating businesses and can help these entrepreneurs think through, okay, you should do this and you should not do this. The universities themselves are academia, and there was a big discussion about how academia contributes to innovation. But universities, ideas, and research is very important to feed into the innovation ecosystems. The businesses and foundations that can serve as either customers or funders to these new early stage companies, as well as the angels and VCs who actually fund these early stage entrepreneurs and companies. So there are all of these components together, and most of the ecosystems have parts of these components. But the problem in most innovation ecosystems is there is no central place where all of them can come together, right? And the way we see MassChallenge is to bring all of these different parts together, right? And MassChallenge itself is funded, it's a public-private partnership. So it is actually a partnership between the government piece and all the private sector pieces. And what we are doing is we are bringing all of them together, right? So you can think about innovation as this problem, which I kind of tend to think about like a stock market, right? Without a stock market, there are buyers and sellers. And then if there was no stock market or a central place in between, what you would have is the buyer would have to find out their own sellers, and you would not have a central place where everybody could meet and it could become more efficient. And that's how the startup environment is in most areas, right? So if I want to start a company today, right, and let's say there's no MassChallenge or central place, what I would do is I would come to a conference like this, or I will go to different events. I will talk to this person here and that person that person would introduce me to 3 other people, and the 3 other people would introduce me to 4 other people, right? So it's a very uncoordinated environment where you exist as an innovation ecosystem. And what we wanted to do with MassChallenge was organize this innovation ecosystem at a central place, and that's what we have done. So a couple of things: put entrepreneurs back into the center of the economy, commercialize more innovations, so encourage more people. Even if you have an idea, a lot of people are thinking, I have an idea, but what do I do next? We tell them to apply to MassChallenge, right? And there they will get all the help they need to create their own companies. Bring different parts of the ecosystem together and drive economic growth. But the most important thing is the last point, which is entrepreneurship for all, which is all ages and sectors. So when people tend to think about innovation and entrepreneurship, they generally tend to think 20-year-olds starting technology companies, right? But what we wanted to do with MassChallenge is that there's amazing innovation and entrepreneurship everywhere, right? Just like in the Innovation Hall, there are amazing, great ideas in healthcare here. There are amazing, great ideas in clean energy. There's amazing, great ideas in all different sectors. And you don't have to be 20-year-old to start a company. At MassChallenge, our youngest entrepreneur was about 18 years old, and our oldest entrepreneur was about 68 or 69 years old, right? And 40% of our companies have a female founder, right? So it truly is about entrepreneurship for all. And if you're an entrepreneur, even if you have a great idea, what we encourage people to do is apply to MassChallenge and see if your idea makes through, and then you'll get all the help that you need. So MassChallenge was born in 2010. We have gone through 4 classes. We just accepted our 5th class. So 128 entrepreneurs from all across the world are going to be starting the program probably about in 2 to 3 weeks in Boston. So this is how the program works. Anyone can enter from anywhere with any startup in the world. On the left-hand side, if you see the funnel, between January and April, the applications are open, right? So we promote MassChallenge from anywhere across the world. So the deadline has just passed right now. But if you're an entrepreneur in this room, I would definitely encourage you to apply next year. Then from April 2nd to May 14th, you go through 2 rounds of judging. The first round of judging is based online, based on your 2-page executive summary. And this year we had about 1,700 applications. From 1,700 applications, we chose about 350 applications that were invited to pitch in person. And from those 350 companies, we choose about 128 companies that enter our accelerator program, which runs from May 14th to October 16th. Everyone gets training and access to networks and resources. And the accelerator program is where the key value of the program lies. So it's for 4 months, all these amazing 128 companies are working next to each other in our offices in Boston. What we require is at least 1 founder from the team be present in Boston for those 4 months, because there are a lot of activities happening during those 4 months. And it's an amazing thing to see 128 of the very best, highly motivated people working right next to each other. So you walk into the floor, and one person is working on cancer diagnostic, the other person is working on the next generation of shoe company, and the third person is working on a mobile application, right? And people think that, oh, they have nothing to do with each other, but what we have found out is no matter what industry you're in, the problems that entrepreneurs face, at least in the early stages, is very, very similar, right? How do you build your team? How do you pitch your product? How do you find a market for your product? How do you raise money? How do you raise financing? And as well as a lot of people issues, right? And sometimes it actually helps to talk to people who are not in the same industry as you are, right? If I'm starting a mobile company, I don't want to talk to the 10 other people who are starting the same kind of mobile companies. I want to talk to other people. So it's just an amazing environment. All these 128 companies work with about 600 plus mentors that are in the program itself. We hold about 250 events during that accelerator program. And that's where the main value of the program lies, is that you get connected to amazing people and resources that you would not have connected before, all right? And then at the end of the program, you're also eligible for to compete for $1 million in cash prizes. So in October, there's final judging. And on October 29th is our final award ceremony. And in front of about 2,000 or 2,500 people in Boston, we give away about $1 million live on stage. And we kind of call it like the Oscars of startups, right? It's literally a red carpet event in the biggest Boston Convention Center. And it's not just about the people who win the money. It's a celebration for the whole industry. It's a celebration for everything innovation and everything entrepreneurs. And we celebrate actors, we celebrate athletes, and what we want to do at MassChallenge is celebrate entrepreneurs, right? And create entrepreneurs as the heroes in society, as people who stick out their neck and say, oh, listen, it's much easier for me to go do a corporate job or get a job somewhere, but I'm not going to do this. I'm going to work on idea, and I'm going to make the world a better place. So these guys are the ones who should be celebrated, and that's our philosophy regarding that. So we are truly crowdsourcing innovation. As I said, first of all, we are bringing every part of the ecosystem together, right, to catalyze entrepreneurial growth and economic development. Why do 600 people, 600 of the very best people and 600 of the most busiest people spend their time at MassChallenge, right? These are some of the biggest investors. Some of these are big-name CEOs running their own companies, but they tend to mentor all of these companies. They will spend time with you because there's a philosophy which is like, if we all grow, everybody benefits, right? If there's entrepreneurial growth and economic development, the whole region grows, all of us will benefit, instead of us trying to think about, oh, what is in it for me at the very start. So let's create value first, and then think about capturing value, right? As opposed to, at the very bottom, say, what is in it for me? Why should I do this? And this is the great thing about great innovation ecosystems as well, is people realize that, and people will take meetings with you, right? I bet you in Boston and Silicon Valley, if you email anybody, and especially you might not even know them, they will take a meeting with you. How MassChallenge got started, right, is John and I were two guys with an idea who had just like quit their jobs, high-paying jobs, and said, I have this idea, I want to change the world, I want to create this, right? What do? We didn't know that many people. We cold email, we got an email address for Desh Deshpande, who's a prolific entrepreneur in the ecosystem. He started multiple billion-dollar companies, a billionaire himself, a great philanthropist. And we just cold emailed him. So we just sent out an email, listen, we are two guys with a big idea. All I want is 30 minutes of your time. Will you meet with us? And he said, I can meet you tomorrow for coffee, right? And then he introduced us to other people. But this is what people do, is a lot of people just take meetings, not because asking what is in it for them, but to see the whole ecosystem grow. And this is what is great about innovation ecosystem, is if the whole ecosystem grows, everybody wins, right? Participation, so I've already talked about 600 plus judges and mentors involved on a volunteer basis. Crowdsourcing the best ideas, right? So MassChallenge does not decide who gets into the accelerator program. So I never decide which of the 1,700 companies makes it into the 128. The 600 judges and mentors decide who gets into the program. So it's actually using the collective wisdom of the whole ecosystem to decide who gets into the final 128 into that program, right? The other thing is we are a neutral platform, right? And it is a truly bringing a top-down approach, which is a government approach, as well as a bottom-up approach, which is an entrepreneurial approach to drive successful innovation together. Because there are a lot of people who are, or a lot of places where you have only a top-down approach. So the government is spending all of this money, right? But there are no entrepreneurs. So what you have is you have these beautiful buildings, right, which are like entrepreneurial centers, but there are no entrepreneurs in them, right? And they have spent millions of dollars in them or billions of dollars and say, let's go do innovation. But there are no entrepreneurs eating pizza on the floor at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? And then a bottom-up approach, which is the entrepreneurs themselves, but they cannot do it by themselves, right? So a lot of places have all this great energy and entrepreneurs and things like that, but they just don't have the support of the ecosystem. So as a result, all these entrepreneurs leave, and they go to Boston, Silicon Valley, London, or Berlin, wherever they feel welcome, right? So for a successful innovation ecosystem, you have to have a both top-down approach and a bottom-up approach, right? And then the last point is about cross-fertilization, right? Great innovation happens when people talk to each other, right? When people talk to each other and then they share ideas and they share what they're working on. And what you need to do in an innovation ecosystem is increase those number of collisions that are happening between people, right? And this is what makes innovation ecosystems great, is that people just have random ideas and they have random meetings and they're like, oh, you know what you're working on? You should meet these two people who are working on the same idea, or you should meet these two people in the same idea. And that's what we are doing with MassChallenge, is on one hand, we are bringing the very best entrepreneurs together, and on the other hand, we are bringing the very best people who can help them and increasing the number of interactions between them. So people are like, have you been successful, or how do you measure whether MassChallenge has been successful, right? So there are some external, metrics that we talk about. This is across the 4 classes, and we generally survey them. And you can see the results of different classes, but in the last 4 years, they have created about 4,000 jobs, raised about $470 million plus in funding, generated about $200 million in revenue, and 89% of them that have gone through are still active, right? And this is only year 4, so as we go across, right, we are going to add more classes, but all of our classes are going to add to these statistics and revenue. But more importantly, we also measure what we call a Net Promoter Score, right? This is an industry standard for customer loyalty that a lot of different companies use, and they say, would you recommend our product to somebody else, right? So think about Apple. Apple measures Net Promoter Score and say, would you recommend an Apple product to your friend, right? And similarly, we asked a very simple question on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend MassChallenge to another early stage startup, right? It's an industry standard that a lot of different companies use. And MassChallenge has one of the highest scores, probably at about 78%, higher than some of the leading brands out there. So our entrepreneurs love them. Because at the end of the day, we are catering to the entrepreneurs. They're our customers, and we want them to be satisfied, right? So that's how we measure MassChallenges. One is over the internal statistics, and one is some of the external statistics. So that's an important question that we have, right? So very key question is, how can you participate? So if you want to know more about MassChallenge, it is at www.masschallenge.org. You can sign up there for our newsletters and some of the most current happenings at MassChallenge. If you're an entrepreneur, you should apply to MassChallenge. This year's deadline has passed, but next year we are going to have another things. So the other question is, how are we funded, right? If we are not taking anything from not taking anything from the entrepreneurs and actually giving them away $1 million. Where is our funding coming from? So most of our funding is coming from Fortune 500 corporations who sponsor us. So there's a sponsor. So if you're a global corporation, and some of the key benefits that global sponsors get is they get access to some of the very best innovations happening in the world, and all aggregated at one place, right? And then partner with us. So last year, we are also looking at international expansion. We started Israel last year. We are starting London and UK this year. So MassChallenge UK is going to launch very soon by the end of this year. And we are very We are very happy to have talks in Spain. So if any of you guys are interested in the Mass Challenge model and Spain, we would love to talk to you. But that is all. And thank you very much for listening to me. And hopefully you have a great conference. Thank you for having me.